That's good, yeah.
Page 1 of the prayer, one time English, one time today. All other sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation from all emotions, may experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious bliss. Until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until then, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Lama Dharmadhatu, the embodiment of the body, speech, and mind qualities, activities, and Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teaching and work of the scientists. We take refuge in the kind root Lama in the Indian mountains. We take refuge in the deities of the Mandalas of the Yams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the scientists. We take refuge in all the noble Bhagavats, Dharmis, and Brahmacharis, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind, and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to Buddhism, and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Sanjay
This is from Bodhisattva Avatar. If you know this famous book, Bodhisattva Avatar, these verses from there.
In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other virtues, may I attain Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings.
Sonje Jodan Zoge Jodnama Janjo Bardo Lame Japsunje Dage Jazoge Pesananje Rola Benje Sanje Romashu.
May all other sentient beings, boundless as God, have happiness in the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Refuge of all sentient beings without exception, divine subjugator of terrifying martyrs together with the hosts of demons, the one who understands all realities without exception exactly as they are, transcendent conqueror together with your disciples. Please come here to this place. The sprinkle with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the four continents, and the sun and moon. As the Buddha feel thy outward, may all sentient beings attain the happiness of Buddha beings. Whatever merit affected through prostration and offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings. fundamental ground of appearance and existence. And I supplicate you to thoroughly liberate the three realms. Please grant your blessings and overturn the depths of samsara. Sublime Master, wish fulfilling tool, crown ornament of the inconceivable, inexpressible mind of the victorious ones, the one endowed with five wisdoms of omniscience, gracious one, the embodiment of love, precious protector of beings, I supplicate you from within the essence of mind. Please grant your blessings from within the innate nature. Please bless me that I may realize the Dharmakaya that is beyond intellect. This is my Lord, the unborn, completely pure mind. Transcendent conqueror of one plus God, full destroyer of afflictive emotions, completely perfected Buddha, endowed with logic and virtue, the one gone to bliss, knower of the world, captain and tamer of beings, the unsubtle teacher of gods and men. I respectfully prostrate completely touching my head with the stainless feet of the unequal Shakti King. At the time of your birth, leader of two-legged beings, taking 7 steps on this great earth you proclaim, I am supreme of this world. To you who are wise, even then I prostrate. Possessing a body of complete purity, so my form is excellent. In ocean of primordial wisdom, you are like the golden mountain, one whose renown is evident throughout the three worlds. To you I prostrate. To you the one God with the supreme minds, whose face is like an immaculate moon. To you the one with the complexion of gold, I prostrate. Applause from the sun to you among the three levels of existence is most exquisite. Unparalleled omniscient one, to you I prostrate. Supreme one humans captain those of eternity. The one plus God who severs the all-binding fetters, who with senses pacified is utterly pacified and skilled in peace. To that one, the one who all shall speak, I prostrate. With refuge in God with great compassion, lowly omniscient one who indicates the way. Ground bases or oceans of merit and qualities, like prostrate the one plus God. The pure cause free from attachments, the virtue that liberates from the lower realms, the altogether supreme ultimate truth, to the pacifying Dharma I prostrate. Having been liberated, they also reveal the path to liberation, thoroughly respectful of the three higher trainings. They are a field of sublime qualities. To the Sangha I also prostrate. And turn back to page 9. prostrate to the youthful one tree, to those in the worlds of the 10 directions, however many there are, all the lions among humans who appear during the 3 times, to all of them without exception, I pay homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The force of my aspiration prayer for excellent conduct brings all the victorious ones directly to mind. Bowing down with bodies as numerous as atoms in the realms, I prostrate to all the victorious ones. In a single bound there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their sons and daughters. Like that, I imagine the whole Dharmadhatu completely filled with victorious ones. To those with oceans of inexhaustible praiseworthy qualities, with sounds containing oceans of tones of melodic speech, I express the qualities of all the victorious ones. I praise all the scarlets, with finest flowers, the finest garlands, music, ornaments, supreme parasols, supreme lamps, and the finest incense. I make offerings to the victorious ones. With finest cloths, supreme scents, and fine powders equal to Mount Meru, all displayed supreme and magnificent ways, I make offerings to those victorious ones. With vast and unsurpassable offerings, I venerate all the victorious ones. Through the power of faith and excellent conduct, I prostrate and offer to the victorious ones. Whatever many actions I have performed with body, speech, and also mind, overpowered by desire, aggression, and stupidity, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in everyone's merit, the victorious ones of the 10 directions, the bodhisattvas, the practical Buddhas, those in training, those beyond training, and all beings. I request the protectors, the lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who passing through the stages of awakening, attain Buddhahood beyond attachment, to turn the unsurpassable Dharma wheel. I supplicate with my palms joined together, those who intend to demonstrate nirvana, to remain for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, for the welfare and happiness of all beings. I dedicate whatever slight virtue is accumulated through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating to enlightenment. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the two vehicles and their combination according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
We have some new friends today, and if you don't know what style of our Almighty teaching is after our daily practice chanting. I chant my lineage prayer, so this is important for in this tradition. And if you already know, just ignore it. But if you don't know, that's what I'm doing here. I chant in Tibetan. It's easy for me. Then one day I try to chant in English. That may take. Jambarashuna Gune Gare Zogun Ju Intro Bema Garponzun Beshar Luson was a donkey travagin, Yangan Mazalo Drunjaza Yonjan Age Barmo Dai Jon Urjan Solin Be Medon Jarvin Amdra Ronjun Lunjid Chenzo be yoden zohon barwe ben manjun ne dalu ben zo jong xinyi den ge xi xin si bin chen zi jin ko ra gong xin zhu gun zhen mo men pa sen zi lo zhu gun de ge zong ye xi zhi ba me gong chun ka lan zi ba kong jan pa ra xiong ne gun ne ga we zo ge ju gong re to ga ren xin nying bong go yoden gun jung ga we ji sar Ningbo tongse bebe nanjirwa chume zhe shabje daye jong chedor jarwe se po shiwa la nondor meong chu shabar zang pangcho donga rong zhung jingmi chu jing wang po daye jong rik tong jambara shun ning shin lam le gong pe long le po pe der Long to chun zi jan su nga zang xiu me pam jam yung nam jia la ku jan zi wo mi chu ji yang je pop ran ne tu sum sang je kun jing an rang sim chu kun ngu sum dong zi be shen chin za we la ma la ku jan zi Okay, thank you for your patience. And yeah, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to to teach these days because we have new friends often come, and we are here also, our senior practitioners also patiently waiting, not agitated, while talking basic dharmas. But somehow I think you can learn from others or books, but the main, maybe it doesn't really matter, it's what we teach, but the main Buddhist teachings, core teaching or main teaching is somehow we are end up in this situation or this samsara, some people call the vicious cycle of samsara, but I'm not that harsh on our our samsara. This is just sort of our own seems delusional creation, so it's not really that vicious. But if since Buddha taught that ignorance somehow solidified this, our appearances or what we see, what we hear, and what we're dealing with is if we treat carefully or understand and attitude toward anything would become our kind of unwanted gas to make us a little bit agitated. So samsaric beings are mainly agitated beings, and in order to come down and treat ourselves and others, we need to know basic thing. Basic thing means why we are here and how we can leave this behind or dissolve into ourself, or doesn't really matter. But the main, any teaching that talks about these two things, keep in mind if you are new, there is what we see and there is what it is. So what we see is often see self, I is this side, and others means other side, and somehow we care more about ourselves than others, and that makes kind of separate or distancing anything that from us. So mainly the Buddhist teaching is trying to harmonize or try to bring these two, self and other, together. That's what we call motivations, what we chant this earlier, our daily chanting, that's bodhicitta, or sometimes we compassion, and means you're bringing others in your position to offer virtuous or good deeds to others. That's sort of harmonizing. And then we have this empty aspect of the what it is. We often use as a Buddhist term in English, emptiness. We don't really know what does that means. People often see. So easy way of understanding empty means there's nothing. That's what we know. And of course, our Buddhist teaching, the main philosophy is there's no self, there's no other, there's no phenomena, then empty aspect of phenomena or empty aspect of nature is suited or telling us that everything is nothing but illusion, like dream. So these two aspects, appearance and emptiness, is the union of these two is need to be understood and also the main practice is we are cultivating or try to understand what this really is. Why we are doing this? Because until we know completely there is no self and others, we will not liberate it from samsara. Samsara is nothing but this separation of self and other. Yeah. So sometimes people talk about these 9 levels of Buddhist teachings, and somehow the lower we call vehicle, but mainly means lower methods of teaching is easier to understand and also maybe less effective, but it's there. So if you are familiar with any level of these teachings, the main teaching is what I mentioned already. And then, particular these texts, we try to learn here, and already finished first chapter, and we are in the second chapter. This book is considered as the highest vehicle, means 9th vehicle, and but still, I think you can relate what your understanding is. There is nothing but this bodhicitta and emptiness and appearance, what you are dealing with. So sometimes in the Buddhist term, we call ultimate reality and relative or conventional reality. So this, we need to deal with these two things. So these conventional and ultimate truth often used as through the conventional truth, we understand what it is, the ultimate reality, and through the ultimate reality, we understand how things arise in our daily life. And of course, then the Buddhist main teaching is not concerning individuals' own problems, but that's maybe not good news for you. But somehow, if you're dealing with the bigger problems, maybe it helps overall. So if you just get a headache or something, maybe it's not solved immediately, but it will be more tolerable if you know this is universal suffering rather than individuals' own sufferings, isolations comes from there. And of course, then somehow, if you are not familiar with Dzogchen in a Tibetan, and also the Greek perfection in English we often use, what does Greek perfection mean here? It means already everything perfected in your mind nature or your mind bodhicitta, or it's for some people it is for difficult concept because they have to have some sort of gradual kind of practice to achieve certain things. But this is less about what you effortfully can do, but more about what you can let things go. And then many terms in this particular text will arise. If you are new, maybe let me know if you don't understand the term or concept or practice or anything, please. And Amen. Here, show myself to me. It's sometimes sometimes good for me because they say there is a Patambasanji's writings say Kurwa Chakrishin to Kanlan Lokya. The samsara is like a cave echo. It will say back to you what you say to them, or what you say, it will repeat back to you. So if you annoy someone's talk or samsara, means that's probably coming from you. I don't remember exactly where we stopped, but if you are
top of 17.
Where?
Top of 17, page 17.
Page 17.
English is. So.
Did we read the last line?
Well, we were talking about 8. I don't know if we finished it or not, but that was the last one that I have written down as 8, which is the bottom of page 15. Mine, sorry, I numbered mine. Yeah.
Do you have numbers on the verse?
I wrote my own. I just count paragraphs. You know.
Okay. Maybe page 15 or 17 in English.
17.
We can do it again, if necessary. That way we don't miss anything. So
no, I'm thinking page 15 and 17 are quite different. Yeah.
Oh, it starts with on this infinite foundation at the very bottom of 15.
Oh, okay.
I'm calling that one number 8.
Okay, first Tibetan, that's what we do. If you don't understand Tibetan, that's fine. It's we have English, but somehow my habit, and also I'm trying to give oral transmission together while I'm teaching. Chomigun chabdarve sayelan kundiri me shangcho samje chuni loyang zamolun doshin ma jirong yi choki yangwe jirin zimzhu chavin yugo shindoyang.
So we'll read together. On this infinite foundation, extending everywhere impartially, the stronghold of awakened mind does not distinguish between samsara and nirvana. Its imposing and lofty summit is the spacious expanse that is the true nature of phenomena. At the very center of the panorama of this uncreated nature, the entranceway that frees one from developmental effort is wide open.
Yeah, of course, then this text is very poetic, and Longchenpa, the author, is very most, maybe they say in Tibet, he's the most prolific writer in all time. And here we use, Longchenpa use these, what do we call, not building a store or a house or a mansion. And the first he used this is on this infinite foundation, the foundation where you build house. What does this infinite foundation is the ground we talked about earlier. So foundation or ground or basis, but that often used as a basis of samsara and nirvana. That's metaphor as a actual ground, what we talk about. In Tibet, we have he, people often translate either basis or ground or the foundation, but I heard English speakers that maybe ground is better than foundation or basis. That's up to you, what you think. That's they think foundation is seems too physical. But here it's foundation used as a foundation as where if you need to build a mansion, you have first good foundations that's using us here. And the stronghold of a waking mind does not distinguish between samsara and nirvana. Early we talk about Buddhist teachings are relating with these two things, ultimate reality and conventional reality, and also samsara and nirvana sometimes used as if you are not familiar with Sanskrit samsara and nirvana, samsara means what we live in and tons of sufferings and tons of problems and so forth. And then nirvana means beyond suffering, which means Buddhahood or arhat. But mainly here, samsara and nirvana is this contrasting the enlightened quality and the delusional part. So any samsaric things that's called samsara, and any enlightened qualities that called nirvana. So these two are based on our our mind, nothing but our mind, yeah. And it is imposing and lofty summit is the spacious expanse that is true nature of phenomena. Why these samsara and nirvana are based on a single ground or basis, because samsara is also just what we call or what we think, and nirvana is also the part that we labeled. It's not really exist its own. Nagarjuna's Mulamidamakakarika, these two are they go interdependent. Interdependent means either cause to result depending, the result depend on cause and cause depend on the result. That's actual sort of a conventional truth that's what's happening. And then also we can label things that once we say this is nirvana, then means there's a negative side, which positive and negative, these are we just labeled. It's not necessarily causal relationship in there. And then at the very center of panorama of this uncreated nature, the entryway that frees one from developmental effort is wide open. We often say, sometimes in sutra teachings, we call teachings of karmic causal relationship, which means we teach cause. What cause will bring result? Since these two are there to relating and the cause to produce a result. And Tantra, we call result teachings. The results are already in our system, so we don't need to really create the cause, but the cause is just help us to reveal what our nature is, rather than cause to produce or add something up to cause to produce. And here, these particular practice that frees one from developmental effort is wide open. So this developmental effort, so there's less, even a tantra, general tantras is already talk about the result in our system. So we don't really need to effortfully to practice things. But here is even more in the Dzogchen. Dzogchen early, I mentioned that it's English is the Greek perfection. Greek perfection means everything's perfected in our mind nature, and the effortful practice is not leading us to close to our mind nature. Rather, it's sometimes, last week we talked about these two forces kind of push each other, negative and positive, then is not stay in an equilibrium to settle or relax in our mind. That is the purpose of Dzogchen teaching, that needs to settle our mind in our mind nature. So that is the purpose. And then we have next verse. If you are not familiar with these texts, please read from beginning. It's not that many pages we have gone through, so it's more than you have more idea of what this text is. Sundrum jurve gobi jemba de royun yishi jarbo den la shom dandro no yishi zarna lombro jurve yola onje shin ron sam den zumo tambat ombaran shiraze tamchen yo ji de chen long chen rong sra doba me.
We're on the top of page 17. Within that palace, adorned by the spontaneously present array of wealth, the king, naturally occurring timeless awareness, sits on his throne. All aspects of the dynamic energy of that awareness, manifesting as thoughts that proliferate and subside, serve as ministers exercising control over the domain. The Holy Queen, naturally abiding meditative stability, is accompanied by the royal heirs and servants, naturally arising enlightened intent. This encompassing expanse of supreme bliss is naturally lucid and non-conceptual.
Okay, so sort of continue as we see what is the foundation is, what we build a mansion, and then what is inside of the palace, maybe use that as palace. Yeah. And so this magnificent palace is, with that palace, adorned with the spontaneously present array of wealth. So these spontaneously present, often used in this particular Dzogchen teachings, which means it's nothing to be added or nothing to be removed. It means it's always there and always present. These use the metaphor used as wealth. So we see the foundation and the palace and the wealth and the adornments and so forth. And the king, naturally occurring timeless awareness, sit on this throne. Here again, the naturally occurring timeless awareness. It's Tibetan as Rang Jung Yeshi. It's quite long in English. Really just means a Rigpa, or if you're familiar with Rigpa. Rigpa is a Tibetan term that referring to you are my nature. Rig means aware. Pa is a nominalizer. So it's Rigpa means awareness that we all have. So the king is our awareness. So the whole universe is sort of become as a foundation, and then the samsara nirvana is not separated, or you cannot distinguish these two in this foundation. And then the palace. And the samsara and the nirvana are not two things, and also nirvana is not adoptable, taking in. Nirvana, samsara is not to be rejected or to be pushed out, and so forth. So that's sometimes we call adornment, because everything's good for us. Suffering is good for us. That's statements too fishy. Then what can I say? Better way? Do you have any better words? What? Yeah, including suffering.
So suffering is good for renunciation?
Microphone?
So to make sure that I follow you, you mean that suffering is good like for renunciation? Is that the good of suffering?
So what is suffering good for? Right. That kind of a question, right?
Yes, I just want to make sure I got it right. So you say suffering is good. Is suffering good for renunciation, or what is it good for?
Yeah, why is suffering good for us?
Yes, yes. I always get in trouble. Yeah, both ways. Renunciation is necessary suffering. If Buddha's Four Noble Truths, the very first one is you need to recognize suffering. So his main teaching is it's not problem what we have suffering, but it's problem that we don't recognize we have suffering. Our suffering, maybe we have suffering, we know something, but we don't know what suffering is, and so forth. But that's one way what is true. But here Dzogchen is, if anything is coming from our Rigpa or our awakened mind, then it would not have any negative things arise. Yeah. So here is more, we need to treat everything in a positive way. So that's why we cannot just reject suffering to treat as a bad thing. When we treat that way, it will intensify, and it's of course give us more suffering. So if we know the nature of suffering, and suffering is nothing but the manifestation of Rigpa, then we can treat suffering more gently. Earlier I'm talking about we need to treat samsara gently, as treating ourselves or treating others in the same way. Yeah, that is the important. So samsara is very delicate thing. It's not what sufferings there or not. It's more how we can treat suffering itself. And then now we have more metaphors. The kings, if you don't know what king means or who's those are, good or old days, since their kings are the only can say something that doesn't mean anything. But people still treat some special. Except our country, the many countries still have kings and queens. So I don't know how they treat well. But the kings here just used as metaphor rather than. It's not saying kings are good or bad. It's just it's a powerful thing. So the real king is our Rigpa. It's nothing else. Cannot make decisions, and also everything arises from there. And all aspects of the dynamic energy of that awareness manifesting as thoughts that proliferate and subside serve as ministers exercising control over the domain. Our Rigpa, or our bodhicitta, the awakened mind, stays without moving. But like king doesn't need to, I don't know, maybe need to, but this particular example, the king doesn't need to go to wars or doesn't need to deal with administrative works and so forth. So dealing with others, country or people or anything, that is more coming from the manifestation of the Rigpa. So Rigpa itself, and it doesn't move, but we call Zao. Zao is potential energy, that Rigpa has this own potential energy. Then we have thoughts and we can make decisions and so forth are coming from there. Once you control, or we can control the king. King itself is have own power, yeah. But somehow we need to control the king rather than control the ministers. But here it's saying, without moving the Rigpa, you can control or you can manage the whole samsaric things. The Holy Queen, naturally binding meditative stability, is accompanied by the royal heirs and servants, naturally arising enlightenment intent. The encompassing expanse of supreme bliss is naturally lucid and non-conceptual. So here Dzogchen view is the ground, or we already talk about, that's it's talking about nature of reality. And once we are settled in this realm, then whatever things happened, it doesn't really matter to us. We don't need to chase each individual appearances, or we don't need to pursue good or bliss or anything, but we can control ourselves without moving the rigpa. And maybe we can read these two together, the early passage and here passage up to the first paragraph of page 17, that makes together, that makes sense continuously, I think, metaphors.
So you want to reread the bottom of 15 and then the top of 17?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
English is good.
So back to page 15 at the bottom. On this infinite foundation, extending everywhere impartially, the stronghold of awakened mind does not distinguish between samsara and nirvana. Its imposing and lofty summit is the spacious expanse that is the true nature of phenomena. At the very center of the panorama of this uncreated nature, the entranceway that frees one from developmental effort is wide open. Within that palace, adorned by the spontaneously present array of wealth, the king, naturally occurring timeless awareness, sits on his throne. All aspects of the dynamic energy of that awareness, manifesting as thoughts that proliferate and subside, serve as ministers exercising control over the domain. The Holy Queen, naturally abiding meditative stability, is accompanied by the royal heirs and servants, naturally arising enlightened intent. This encompassing expanse of supreme bliss is naturally lucid and non-conceptual.
Mm-hmm. So if these metaphors, of course, this 14th century writing, of course, those days we don't have elected prime ministers or others. If you are unhappy with the kings and the queens and these, or you don't know what they do, maybe you can use other metaphors, whatever you think most powerful. Of course, even not necessarily individual beings. And then that's a metaphor. Any questions in there? Is clear? Metaphor is clear? Okay. Okay. Then we have next. Meo zamjo darving yele no si no chu gulang chung yin yong wi kam ja che.
Within that very context, unwavering and beyond imagination or description, mastery is gained over the entire universe of appearances and possibilities. This is the vast dominion of the basic space of phenomena.
I think still here, this Tibetan has 3-line, English too, yeah. It's also continue metaphor. within that very context, so the whole system, the foundation, building foundation to all the way to the Queen. Within that very context, unwavering and beyond imagination or description. So even we describe these metaphors, through these metaphors, but the nature or actual reality is beyond imagination and description. Mastery is king over the entire universe of appearances and possibilities, and also these appearances and possibilities used as when we say this, that means include everything. What appears, we can hear, or we can taste, or we can touch. And possibility means any can be possible. Possible means what we like science fiction. It will sometimes happen, sometimes not, but it's possible, and anything could be possible. Yeah. And this is the vast domain of the basic space of phenomena. So we often now, I think it's hard to change this term, the basic space of phenomena. The book's title is use that, and also time to time is come this term, the basic space of phenomena, which often use or translate from the Tibetan Chuying, which is Sanskrit is Dharmadhatu. So if you are familiar with those, I think it's fine. If not, then it's the basic space of phenomena. Now means expanse, or the vast expanse of the nature of phenomena. That's mainly the nature of phenomena. Sometimes we use as emptiness, sometimes we use as ultimate reality, but mainly the domain that Dharmadhatu. So these samsaric or nirvanic things happened and appear, and also it's possible to appear in a different way. Whatever happens, but these never kind of go beyond or out of the domain of the basic space of phenomena. Means we cannot really leave this domain. We are stuck in this, and if you are happy with that, it's good place to be. If you are not happy with that, it's really difficult to leave this domain. As we are in here all together. Maybe we can read one more all the way to here from this chapter 15, not chapter 50, page 15, the last paragraph to 17, the second paragraph.
Okay. On this infinite foundation, extending everywhere impartially, the stronghold of awakened mind does not distinguish between samsara and nirvana. Its imposing and lofty summit is the spacious expanse that is the true nature of phenomena. At the very center of the panorama of this uncreated nature, the entranceway that frees one from developmental effort is wide open. Within that palace adorned by the spontaneously present array of wealth, the king, naturally occurring timeless awareness, sits on his throne. All aspects of the dynamic energy of that awareness, manifesting as thoughts that proliferate and subside, serve as ministers exercising control over the domain. The Holy Queen, naturally abiding meditative stability, is accompanied by the royal heirs and servants, naturally arising enlightened intent. This encompassing expanse of supreme bliss is naturally lucid and non-conceptual. Within that very context, unwavering and beyond imagination or description, mastery is gained over the entire universe of appearances and possibilities. This is the vast dominion of the basic space of phenomena.
Mm-hmm. I think more related with we know that our thoughts are manifest or arise from our own awareness, and here is saying that manifesting as thoughts that proliferate and subside. So means arise from there and dissolve back to in there. It's nothing that rise and then stays forever. It's the thoughts are sometimes, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but sometimes in English we call emotion. Yet emotion is kind of, it's not never kind of stays in the same level. It's emotion, our mental activities, ups and downs, and these thoughts are proliferate and subside. It's sometimes called what do we call oscillation. So it's coming from the ground and dissolve back into ground. We know our thoughts has no trace. When it's gone, it's gone. What do you think? Yeah. So thoughts once gone, then it's gone, evaporates in a Dharmadhatu. But it's also arise from there, so we can see how we can eliminate thoughts. And that is possible. Yes.
You said that when thoughts are gone, eliminate in the Dharmadhatu. But then I'm always been puzzled with that, the fact that thoughts are like energy and we have this collective karma that creates phenomena. So from that perspective, they don't dissolve into Dharmadhatu because my thoughts combine with the thoughts of others and create this, relative reality. So I'm puzzled. Did they dissolve the Dharmadhatu, or did they become collective karma and we co-create this relative reality?
Yeah, you are totally right, and of course our negative thoughts with any body, speech, mind action creates bad karma. Yeah, bad karma means we create negative karma, and that habitual tendency or latency is deposited according to sutra teachings, deposited in our mind stream. But we still, here we are thinking that we like to think that there is karma and there is thoughts, and these are somehow exist in their own way or own place. If we think like that, then it means we are thinking more sutric teachings earlier. And I mentioned that sutras, teachings we call karmic causal relationship teach. Once we believe that karmic causal relations are there, means we are still stuck in these nice, cozy samsara place, and then we can either cherish that, or we can reject that, or we can just ignore it, or whatever we do, we are still dealing with that. But here, this kind of bondage, that karmic causal relationship, is it's not really exists, just what we created. And even logically, our thoughts are based on the moment by moment. Yeah, once the moment's gone, our thoughts gone. There would not have any habitual or any residual or any trace of that in a second moment. Even we think about basic Buddhist logics. But you are totally right that once we think about there is a cause and there is result, then of course we'll still continue. It's our life is the same thing. And anything that depend on a moment, then there is sort of continuation. The same thing we say, we cannot cross river twice. Why? Because it moves, yeah. But don't totally abandon the karmic causal relationships. It's even this book. Now I don't remember exactly the page, but even he say, until you fully understand these things, don't say there's no causal relationships. It's tricky idea. It benefits us. If you think about the causal relationship, it's benefit us, then it's good. If not, causal relationship itself tied us, chain us, and shackle us to hold down, then it's not good. Yeah, it's not good or not necessary to clinging on that. If now I am looking at maybe once you look at particular things, you never find anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, this book, I'm sure that I know there's a passage that he warns. Don't say that don't say like what I'm saying here. Yeah, this book. Yeah, that's sometimes it's more safe to stay in basic teachings to settle in there, but then sometimes it's more deceiving, it's more hurtful because it's based on delusional thing. The mainly is if we wanted to make samsara a livable, nice place, or we just want to don't care, go beyond samsara. If we wanted to live more in the samsara, of course, better to make samsara a nice, cozy place. If we don't want to live too long, then don't make too much effort to make samsara a nice place. I mean, nice place means individuals' preference and choice rather than what we really don't know what's nice place for everyone. Yeah, if there's no maybe nice place for everyone, and that's a good question. Thank you so much, and please let me know further and further. We have these poetic languages sometimes go beyond what our normally what we think logically, this is good and this is bad, and if you do this, it happened, and these kind of logical things sometimes discard in these teachings, because somehow we need to go beyond our chain of thoughts that's shackle ourselves in a samsara very, very tightly, and also maybe for a long time. And next one. Yordane na tamchi chuji ku rong yi shi jeli ma yu be ma ye zin zo zhong de ai. Chazor me be tilen den be na chi yin ye sa me be long den je.
Middle of the page, if one abides in that domain, everything is Dharmakaya, with no wavering from the single, naturally occurring, timeless awareness. There is an unfabricated, timelessly ensured transcendence of effort and achievement. Given that the sphere of being, without any hard edges, is inclusive, everything, just as it is encompassed within the expanse in which there is no differentiation or exclusion.
Mm-hmm. So here, now we have this nice kingdom. So it's against what I said already, but of course, earlier I mentioned that whatever you say, it will echo back to you. However, these metaphors are truly samsaric glory, yeah. Kings and queens and ministers and palaces and wealth and this sort of super samsaric hierarchical structure that somehow we all wish, or we all just caught in that this structure is the best structure what we have. But somehow I'm not saying that how it is, but that's how caught our attention. That's why I use metaphor here. But at least this kingdom or domain is livable. Sometimes they call Dharma king, or doesn't really matter, but compassionate king or wise king or whatever, and compared to others, maybe it's less harmful to talk about that. But the metaphor itself is the purpose of drawing our attention. It's not necessarily a best metaphor. So that's why I'm saying, if you are not familiar with this system and not familiar with these, if you don't believe in this system, then don't have to use this. But the main purpose is here is there's foundational thing that that supports everything, and there is a force that nothing but our awakened mind. And if you can stable or control ourself or our Rigpa itself, then everything subside, even proliferate from it. It will dissolve back. And then if you can do that, if one buys in this domain, that nice domain, everything is Dharmakaya. When we say basic spatial phenomena or Dharmadhatu or Dharmakaya, these two are synonyms, but sometimes used as Dharmadhatu is an object, Dharmakaya is subject, because Dharmakaya means kaya means body often used as a person, personified Buddha, yeah. So Dharmadhatu is the object, what you need to know, and Dharmakaya, what you need to achieve or attain. And once you settle in this domain, then not only you, but everything is Dharmakaya. Earlier I talked about self and others are not two things in this particular domain. With no wavering from this single, naturally occurring timeless awareness, that is, we often say, the Yeshi or Rigpa, there is an unfabricated, timelessly ensure transcendent of effort and achievement. So the effort and achievement means you need to do something to achieve something. It's not necessary in this particular domain. And given that sphere being without any hard edges, that is it's often used as a globe or sphere, but somehow edges and ends or corners describes the limits. If once we use that doesn't have that corners, edges, ends, then it's sort of infinite. So like space, we cannot find the end of the space. Somehow, then also our concept is also sort of collapsed here. There's no power to think about the end of the space or edge of the space or corner of space. And these, if we think about either Dharmakaya or this timeless awareness, is it's like in the Tibetan is Tigle, but Sanskrit is Bindu, means really round, without edge and ends. And these, without any hard edges, I don't know why you need hard, but it's inclusive. Everything just as it is encompassed in the expanse, and there is no differentiation or exclusions. So there is a single bindu, contains everything. Earlier we chant that on a single atom. What do you say?
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
I'm listening.
exactly.
Numberless.
So that is even sutras already talk about these on a single atom. The limitless Buddhas can abide or sit in this single atom, and then sometimes we say the atom does not expand and Buddha does not shrink. So it's somehow small and big. Size of large and small is just arbitrary. That's why it's talking about. And then, of course, famous Milarepa enter into the yak horn. If you don't know yaks, it's not that big. Horn is not that big either. So Milarepa is a person. No matter how small, it physically cannot fit in, but somehow he enters in the yak horn, and the yak horn didn't expand, and Milarepa doesn't shrink, but fits perfectly in there. And those are helpful us to think about small and a large size, and good and bad, and white and black, and so forth are just our own creation. But I'm not saying trying to enter in the yak horns. Okay, next one. Jojo ne da sanje shen kam jang shen na me de juni nang ke rong sa shan jo sem su ro jik be rik be ngong de krun de ob jo.
So Khenpo is the next page all part of the same one, or just the bottom paragraph? Is this one very long or just a short one?
I think now we are at the last paragraph, yeah.
Okay. Bottom of 17. Neither the realms of the 6 classes of beings, nor even the pure realms of Buddhas exist elsewhere. They are the realm of space, the true nature of phenomena. Given that they are of one taste in naturally lucid awakened mind, samsara and nirvana are fully encompassed within the scope of awareness.
Yeah, now you can see it's there is sort of a lot of repetitions in this text, but it's also nice to have this text to remind us again and again in a different way to saying earlier we see some samsara and nirvana, or nirvana and samsara, and sometimes English word that samsara is what they call silk existence, used as that. Mm-hmm. Nirvana is beyond misery.
He said beyond misery.
Yeah. And so these two, you can see clearly that one is good thing, one is bad thing for us. And here also, neither the realm of the 6 classes of being means samsara, nor even the pure realm of the Buddha means nirvana, exists elsewhere, so that these two does not exist anywhere else rather than our own mind. That they are the realm of space, the nature, the true nature of phenomena. Sometimes when we say true nature of phenomena, it's talking about all the objects, what we see, but then phenomena include self and other, samsara and nirvana. So anything that's why it's called existent appearances and possibilities that include everything. And we know that nature is only one, a single, a true nature. Given that there are of one taste in a natural lucid awakened mind, awakened mind is used as same as a timeless awareness or Rigpa awareness. These are synonyms, and you can use as a bodhicitta or Yeshi or Rigpa. These are same thing, means our awareness, own awareness. And samsara and nirvana are fully encompassed within the scope of awareness. So samsara and nirvana both in our mind nature. So when we say that, it's not saying samsara and nirvana exist. Samsara and nirvana does not exist. That's why it's not good way to say in English. How can samsara and nirvana exist in our mind nature? Because mind nature is a single single nature that does not have qualities of samsara and nirvana. When we say samsara and nirvana fully encompassed within the scope of awareness, means there never exists in the first place. That's why we can say arise from there, but not necessarily samsara and nirvana exist in their own way in our mind nature. Tamche gun join chen zon de nan de ba ma ca yen lun zho chu men byo yer men gun jang la chen no no chu no long chu zo song nian da ve rong xia zhe ve ge song jian de ma zo ju me tamche ge zong to je re wa xia de ye ma In
this treasury of the basic space of phenomena, the source of everything, nirvana is timelessly and spontaneously present without having to be sought. So within Dharmakaya, unchanging, non-referential, and infinitely extensive, the manifestation of the outer and inner universe is Sambhogakaya, and the natural arising of things like reflections is Nirmanakaya. Since there is no phenomenon that is not perfect as an adornment of the three kayas, everything arises as the display of enlightened form, speech, and mind. Moreover, without exception, the countless pure realms of the Sagatas arise from the very same source, mind itself, the expanse of the three kayas.
Mm-hmm. And of course, when we say there's no samsara and nirvana and stop there, would not give us much benefit. So somehow we need to look different angle, different qualities, different characteristics to make sense to us. So that's why in a very particular Dzogchen teaching here, the very first ground we call the source of samsara, either we call base or source or samsara, the ground which is neutral ground, that samsara and nirvana are sort of arise due to the dynamic energy of that. And then the nature or the characteristic of these particular our mind nature is also endowed with these three qualities: the empty essence, luminous nature, and the great compassion, pervasive great compassion sometimes. And then these three can relate it to three wisdoms, the empty wisdom, luminous wisdom, and the, of course, compassionate wisdom, these three wisdoms. Or then sometimes we can relate it, three kayas. The empty aspect is called Dharmakaya, luminous aspect is called Sambhogakaya, and compassionate, great compassionate, is called Nirmanakaya. So here, I'm mainly talking about three kayas are in here. That's the nature of our mind. And you can see there's three kayas. And here, so within the Dharmakaya, unchanging, non-referential, and infinite expanse, the manifestation of the outer and the inner universe is Sambhogakaya, and the nature arising things like reflections is Nirmanakaya. So these, you can see now our inner qualities of three kayas, how is related to manifestation or objects, or how these are related. And since there is no phenomena that is not perfect as adornment of three kayas, means samsara, or even suffering itself, what we call suffering, is adornment of three kayas. So it's more beautifying the three kayas rather than the sufferings make worse three kayas. Everything rises as a display of enlightened form, speech, and mind. Often Buddhist terms, if you are not familiar with these body, speech, mind, what we have in beings, or particularly human beings, and these three also kind of relate to the three kayas. And body is Nirmanakaya, speech is Sambhogakaya, mind is Dharmakaya. So this kaya, enlightened forms, speech and mind. Moreover, with an exception, the countless pure realms of Sukhatas or Buddhas arise from very same source. The samsara and the nirvana arising, the very same source, means your own mind nature, mind itself, the expanse of three kayas. And that is the nirvana part of arising. And then next one is samsaric manifestation. Kurvera yin dodo chongche ejan chuyin le sonyen sharvad. Yeshi de do na tso no ayang semni long dere druvi demo. Milayo la non la sheme ben kala drin shen lo re jen jong zang. Yu mi rong yin tan de pe zhu zhe te le ngong de wob zhou.
As well, the cities of the 6 classes of beings, whose nature is that of samsara, are simply reflections arising within the scope of the basic space of phenomena. Moreover, the various manifestations of birth and death, pleasure and pain, are like phantasmagoria within this expanse, mind itself. Although they do not exist, they appear to, and in manifesting they have no basis. And so they are like clouds in the sky, simply occurring adventitiously due to circumstances. Neither existent nor non-existent, they are by nature beyond extremes, fully encompassed within the sphere of being, free of elaboration.
And of course, both samsara and nirvana are kind of equally either exist or non-existent. But here seems, of course, we bias of our own human understanding that our mind nature is trikayas, or our mind nature is in the downward trikayas. Seems that is good thing, and we treat samsara as a bad thing, and also these, of course, birth. In the Buddhist teachings, birth is also suffering. So birth, sickness, aging, and death, so these are more our humans have, and then sometimes adding 4 more things that sufferings what we humans have. We want something, we don't get that, and we don't want something, we often run into those troubles and so forth. So here, of course, still we have biased thinking of nirvanic qualities are good for us, and the samsaric things are bad for us. But we need to think that here, trying to saying that not only the 3 kayas arise from there, but 6 realms or 6 classes of beings also arise from there. It arises like simply reflection arising within the scope of the basic space. It's more like reflection rather than truly existing or fully existing things. Moreover, the various manifestation of birth, death, pleasure, and pain that we can feel, we can experience, are like phantasmagoria within this expanse. So it's more display that it's kind of show what we can see. And these arisings are neither existent nor non-existent. That is, of course, then going to another territory that often used when we say beyond concept, means we can think about existing something and then something does not exist. So samsaric appearances is not, neither of them. It's beyond that. Maybe that doesn't really help. What does that really mean? But that often use the language to communicate with us. Then when we say, if samsara does not exist, then how can be? If samsara exists, how can be? But saying samsara can appear like this because of this, neither of them. Yeah. Because fully exists, then it appears in a certain way, and does not exist, then could not appear. So that's what it's saying here. And so there are like clouds in the sky, simply occurring advantageously due to the circumstances. Neither existent nor non-existent, they are by nature beyond extremes, fully encompassed within the sphere of being, free of elaboration. And I often say this sounds like describing some distant nature or truly existing things, but we need to think about this all. Talk about a low battery. That's good. Yeah. Samsara is low battery. Doesn't have functions. That's a good thing. And always need to think about ourselves, how mainly either samsara is a horrible place or good place or so place or I don't care. It's based on individuals. It's not out there. And if you have one or two questions, we can discuss here, because sometimes I'm talking myself too long and then it's not good. Okay. Please online and here, anyone wanted to discuss any subject, please.
Khenpo, there's a question on Zoom.
Okay.
From Choying Lamo. Thank you for your question. Sambhogakaya in external meaning, are these pure realms? Sambhogakaya in external meaning, are these pure realms?
Earlier I talked about it doesn't really matter, but sometimes for us, we make these terms are matter sometimes because Sambhogakaya is a person, means person. The Buddha means person. We think Buddha has sort of look like us to understand us. So we always personify Buddha. So that's why Sambhogakaya is a person. Pure Ram means abode, place. So when we say Sambhogakaya is in a pure Ram, but Sambhogakaya is not pure. Is that the question? The same thing. Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya. Kaya means body, body means person. Yeah.
Thank you. John Allen would like to know, would Khenpo please speak on the role of having faith in Dzogchen and how to cultivate faith when it is impaired?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said earlier, it's this is talking more about what reality is. And if our goal is to get in understanding this true nature, and true nature is not separate from us. And we often use as early last year or before I mentioned this outer guru and inner guru, so outer lama and inner lama, or outer teacher and inner teacher. So we need to rely on a teacher somehow. And teacher means who can show how to study or how to practice and how to achieve things. And outer guru we often use as a person or mostly person. If you have vision to see your teacher, that's fine. But most of the time, guru means teacher that rely on a person. And that's what we call conventional or relative outer teacher, means you can meet physically and to talk, discuss, and caution things and so forth. And you can get empowerment, oral transmission, and teachings, these three then sometimes we can call as root guru, as that. And once we have outer guru, then inner guru is our own awareness, awakened mind, or our own Rigpa. And the faith, of course, sometimes in modern society, faith is sort of negative things. But no matter what you think, it's more devotion or trust that need to gain or develop. If you don't trust anyone, then it's a little bit difficult to gain any benefit from. So the mainly faith means trust. And trust is not always sort of for the teacher, but more for you, what you can cultivate yourself to change your motivation and your personal qualities, the mental qualities that what you want to change. So the faith or devotion is very important in a Dzogchen tradition, because these teachings are not exactly as sometimes make sense to us immediately, because it's not talking about simple things, simple karmas that we often talk about. If you go to circumambulation or stupa, you will gain a certain amount of good karma, and that will yield some sort of happiness in the future life or this life. So these are very simple and understandable thing. And here is talking about almost saying these are nonsense. We need to think straightly. Well, what we mess up in our samsara, and that's much deeper philosophy and much deeper practice too, and much kind of need more study on these topics to understand. And in order to do that, we have to have some sort of guidance and teacher. And then the outer guru, if we have connection with the outer guru, then if you do trust and supplication and so forth, then we talk about the lineage that carries blessing and so forth. And then maybe if you are unlucky or good, based on good practice, then maybe inner guru maybe reveal or awake or whatever you call, maybe you are gain confidence in your inner guru. But outer guru is purpose of awakening inner guru. And these two are related. If you don't trust others, maybe you cannot trust yourself either. Yeah. So that's why it's maybe very important in a Dzogchen practice and a Mahamudra. Yeah. So I think today is more. Okay. Thank you so much. And today somehow we need to stop here. And thank you online joining us and here in person. And I see many of you online, and almost all of you I know. Thank you for coming. And then next week we continue. Okay.
In the prayer book, page 24. Bottom. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Trigungpa Ratnashri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara.
Thank you. Offering.
Thank you, Khenpo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Khenpo.
Okay.
Night.
I'm meditating.
Muchas gracias desde Chile.
Central China.